Still waiting for Mr. Wildman to join us. Are we ready to proceed? Okay. Good afternoon and welcome to this online hearing of the Committee of Adjustment for the City of Ottawa. The Committee of Adjustment is a quasi-judicial tribunal appointed by City Council to make decisions on certain types of applications under the Planning Act. My name is John Blatherwick, and I will be chairing this hearing today. With me are my fellow panel members, Bonnie Oak-Charon, Stan Wilder, Heather McLean, and Michael Wildman. Please take note that this video conference is being live streamed on YouTube. The video will be archived along with today's agenda on the city's website. Before we begin, we have a few items to outline for your information. While the issues surrounding development of the city are broad, our mandate is quite limited. The committee cannot consider aspects of the proposal that are not related to the required variances: noise, pollution, property maintenance, property values, prosecution for illegal construction, personal comments regarding neighbors, agents, or applicants, additional variances without proper public notice. If there is an identified need for an additional variance or variances, including an increase in the extent of the relief required, recirculation of the application is required. As part of the statutory public notification requirements, each applicant was required to post a sign on the property and file a statutory declaration confirming the sign posting. We don't have any of those, according to my list of speakers. Therefore, I'll be administering the oath or solemn declaration to all applicants or agents before we can proceed with their application. Regarding quorum, if this is lost during the hearing due to technical difficulties, the proceedings will be paused to allow time for the resolution of the issue. Failing the ability to reinstate quorum, hearing of the items remaining will resume at the outset of the next regularly scheduled meeting of the committee. In terms of the hearing process, listed on the agenda and appearing on the screen are the applications we will hear today. For the sake of efficiency, the committee may deal with agenda items in a different order. Note that the committee members have reviewed the application materials prior to this hearing and any written submissions received in support or in opposition. In addition, the committee will hear today oral submissions from any interested parties as part of our proceedings. The committee may ask for a brief presentation by the applicant, followed by questions from the members where clarification may be needed. The public submissions portion of the hearing will then begin, and any interested parties will be invited to make their submissions to the committee. Panel members may then ask follow-up questions where additional clarification may be required. When you are called upon to provide your comments, we will ask you to do the following. Start with stating your name and municipal address for the record. We may ask you to spell your name. Then begin your submission by addressing your comments to the panel members. You may ask questions, but please direct them only to the chair. Please limit your comments to a maximum of 5 minutes. Any exceptions will be at the committee's discretion. Once all interested parties have had an opportunity to address the panel, the public submissions portion of the hearing will then be closed. The committee will then make an oral decision to either grant or deny the application. The committee may also choose to reserve its decision. In such case, the panel will deliberate further on the evidence presented immediately following adjournment of the public hearing. In either case, the committee will send within 10 days of its decision, and to all the parties under those who have requested it, a written notice of decision that sets out the reasons for the decision. All decisions of the committee are subject to a 20-day appeal period during which the decision can be appealed to the Ontario Land Tribunal for a fee. Before we begin, are there any declarations of interest of any panel members regarding this panel, or that the items on panel 2 or the items on panel 3?
Chair, I do have I'll be declaring an interest on item 566 Lewis Street. The contractor involved in this project has done work for me that is still under warranty, so I will not be participating in any dialogue or discussion on this matter.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wilder. We have several sets of minutes to adopt. Minutes of March 2nd and March 16th, 2022. Regarding the minutes of March 2nd, 2022, any additions, deletions, other types of amendments needed to these minutes? All in favor of adopting the minutes as presented? Minutes are so adopted. Regarding the 16th of March, 2022, the same questions apply regarding the minutes. Any problems, any amendments, any adjustments? All right. All in favor of adopting those minutes, March 16th, 2022? The minutes are adopted. We'll now begin dealing with the agenda by dealing with the adjournment requests, and we have a number of them today. The first adjournment request on the list is item number 135 Kenora, and I believe Ms. Hill is the who has requested the adjournment, and she is the agent for the applicant. Ms. Hill, are you there?
Hi, I'm Jonathan. I work for Rosalind's architectural practice. I'll be speaking for her today.
Your last name, sir?
Jonathan Harris.
Thank you. All right, and to the adjournment request for this application?
Yes, please. We'd like to adjourn for to have it in 2 weeks.
And why is that?
Rosalind's not available for this week. She's on vacation.
Okay. Members of the panel are okay with adjourning this for 2 weeks as the applicant's agent is not available. All right, and we have room on the May 4th agenda, Madam Secretary, for this item.
Yes, Mr. Chair, there is room.
Okay. All right. All in favor of adjourning this application until the 4th of May. We will see you then.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Second application that is up for adjournment is at the request of the planning department. It is item number 3 on the agenda, 501 Cole. This is an application to subdivide the property into 2 parcels of land for a new semi-detached dwelling. And I believe Ms. Wakula from the planning department is the planner involved with this file. Ms. Wakula, please articulate the department's request.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chair. Through you, Mr. Chair. The subject property is listed on the Cities of Ottawa Municipal Heritage Register as a non-designated property. And as required under Section 27(9) of the Ontario Heritage Act, the owner of the property is required to submit 60 days notice to the City of Ottawa of their intention to demolish the property. And this was not done. Additionally, the heritage staff requires the 60 days to assess the cultural heritage value of the building, and they have received the request for the designation under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act. Thank you.
They've received a request for designation.
Yes, the heritage staff received the request, so they're reviewing the property right now.
And when was that request received?
Unfortunately, I'm not aware about that.
Okay. So how much time you figure is necessary to do this?
I would say that we should adjourn sine die, and the applicant can return once they receive the response from the heritage staff.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Ms. Makula. Mr. Miller is the agent for the applicant, I believe.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Miller is not available, so I'll be speaking on the matter of the adjournment request.
Okay. Mr. Chown, your address for the record, please.
I'm sorry, I'm out of the office and I don't have it in front of me. So Michael Copeland Drive in Canada, 240 Michael Copeland. There we go.
All right.
Thank you.
Please proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. I will be honest, our first inclination was to actually object to the request for adjournment, but I appreciate that the committee is normally inclined to grant adjournment requests, so I won't get into the reason why I think the committee could easily proceed with the application today. But in order for us to have that conversation with planning staff and with heritage staff, rather than adjourning sine die, we had asked you to adjourn the application for 4 weeks to the hearing of May the 18th, which would give us time to speak with the planners and with heritage staff and hopefully convince them that there's no reason for you not to deal with the application, impose your standard condition with respect to obtaining a demolition permit, and then we'll see how things play out with the heritage designation request and the request to demolish that I actually believe has been filed by our staff, our client, but we will confirm that over the next 4 weeks. So with all due respect, I'd request that we adjourn this to May 18th, and I think by then we will have an understanding with staff.
Ms. Pacula, would May the 18th work as a timeline?
At the discretion of the applicant, yes.
Okay. All right. We also have, thank you, Mr. Chown. We also have Janice Mervin and Mark Boudet at 498 Cole who wish to speak to the application and just to the adjournment. Ms. Mervin, are you there?
I am.
Okay.
Are you asking if I'm okay with adjourning to a later date?
Yep.
Okay. Okay.
You're fine?
I am.
All right. And Ms. Mitchell from the Westboro Community Association.
Hi, yes, would be pleased with the adjournment. However, I did, Mr. Chair, want to answer your question. The submission for heritage designation was made in fall of 2021.
Okay. All right. So that's said. So that's again, Mr. Chown, that's the 18th of May.
Yes, please, Mr. Chair.
And we're okay with that, Madam Secretary Treasurer?
Yes, there'll be sufficient room on the 18th.
Okay. And Mr. Wilder, you had a comment on the adjournment? Can't hear you, Mr. Wilder. Can't hear you, Mr. Wilder. You're muted.
Hey, yeah, I'm just unmuting. Can you hear me now? Yeah. Mr. Chown, I realize the nature of this application. I took the time to go by the property, and I obviously have my own concerns about the redevelopment of this particular property and the loss of the building. Notwithstanding the nature of the application, I would like to see, if it's not too much to ask, if your client does have plans, site plan, some elevations, whatever, of what he's proposing for the site. I would like to see that in terms of some of the comments we received from, in terms of landscape, forestry, the trees, whatever. So any additional information you can provide on this application would be appreciated.
I'll take that under advisement, Mr. Wilder. Thank you.
Ms. McLean, you had a comment? You're muted, Ms. McLean.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just to note that there's a correction to the notice that we're being asked to subdivide the property for 2 detached dwellings and not for a semi-detached, I believe.
Yes, thank you. I forgot to mention that.
Thank you very much for reminding us.
All right. All in favor of the adjournment until the 18th of May on this application? All right. Application is adjourned. See you all.
Thank
then.
you.
You're welcome. Next items on the adjournment agenda, items 6 and 7, 117 Carruthers Avenue. And this is applications to sever the property into 2 parcels for long semi-detached dwellings with variance for lot widths, areas, entrances, and bay windows. And this application, this adjournment request was also filed by the planning department. Ms. Pacula, please proceed with your articulation.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair. Planning staff requires a servicing plan for review to understand if the adequate servicing can be provided. with the design of the front yard as proposed, and we have concerns with the functionality of the front yard, its impact on the streetscape, and especially the entrance of the secondary dwelling unit being located in the front. Thank you.
I best Mr. Kalitsa is the agent for the applicant. Mr. Kalitsa,
Yes, we,
your address for the record, please.
76 Chamberlain Avenue.
Okay, please proceed.
We've been in discussions, well, over the last probably 4 months or so with the city. There are some outstanding issues that have been brought to the forefront. And we have no problem with an adjournment of 2 weeks, which I believe is sufficient time to come to some resolution with staff.
Okay. All right. Is 2 weeks sufficient, Ms. Mikula?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I confirm that 2 weeks is sufficient.
Any questions or comments from the members of the committee regarding this adjournment request? All in favor of adjourning this application until the 4th of May? All right.
Chair, just a question. Sorry, I was trying to raise my hand.
Oh,
there.
sorry. Pardon me, Mr. Robin.
Just on the meeting, like I do know that the meeting in May was getting heavy. We asked staff, but we didn't ask committee staff how the agenda is looking. I just want to make sure we're not getting a little too heavy on the May 4th meeting.
Mr. Chair, there's approximately 14 applications now for the May 4th hearing.
So I think we've kind of reached our limit, but
Yeah.
in terms of adding any more on.
Yeah.
I would support though, Mr. Chair, this one.
Okay. All right, then all in favor of adjourning this application until the 4th of May? Okay. Application's adjourned. We shall see you then.
Thank you.
Next application that's up for adjournment is item 9 on the agenda, 86 James Street. And this is an application to permit a front yard parking space with reduced length on a property with a smaller lot width. The agent for the applicant is Ms. Smith. Is she there?
Yes,
Ms. Smith, for the record, your address.
941 Maryvale Avenue.
All right. And please give us the reason for the request for the adjournment.
We would like to adjourn until June 1st. And the primary reason is because we would like to address the comments that we received yesterday from the planning department.
Okay. Just out of curiosity, Ms. Smith, is this a complaint-driven application?
It's from the city, yes, the city bylaw, about a parking space.
Okay. Was there an order to comply issued for this property? Building
Yes,
code purposes?
and we've had permission to postpone the order.
And what was the nature of the order to comply?
To get approval from the Committee of Adjustment or remove the parking space.
Not to seek approval from the city because apparently this driveway was built without the benefit of a building permit.
That's right. Oh, yep. Just the owners are present.
Yeah, well, no, it's okay. We can discuss this, and I'm wondering, Ms. Smith, if when we adjourn this, regarding the parking, the length of the parking stall, is there a need for an encroachment permit? Because the vehicle would be partially parked on city property unless it's a very short vehicle.
I guess I would ask the owners to address that if they could fit it
Well,
in.
I think that's something that's maybe considered during the time we'll set aside for further review of this application. You're suggesting the 1st of June as a date?
That's right. The owners will be away and out of contact.
Madam Deputy Secretary Treasurer, do we have space on the June 1st agenda?
Yes, Mr. Chair, there is space.
Okay. All right. I just note that regarding the variance A, there's an amendment to the public notice, and it now reads to permit a parking space in the front yard, whereas said parking space is not permitted unless determined to be within the dominant character group through a streetscape character analysis. And there's also a change to variance B, permit a reduced parking space length of 4.33 meters, whereas the bylaw requires a minimum parking space of not 4.6 but 5.2 meters.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Any questions for the applicant's agent regarding this request for deferral? All in favor of the adjournment until the 1st of June. Right. Matters adjourned until June 1st. See you then.
Thank you very much.
All right. Okay, that's that one. The next application that is up for adjournment is item 15 on the agenda, 325 Hinchy Avenue. The summary of the application is to permit the conversion of an existing duplex dwelling into a 3-unit dwelling. Minor variances include reduced lot width, lot area, reduced interior side yard setback, and landscaped area, reduced glazing on front facade, no garage storage, reduced rear yard setback and area. And excuse me, this is also a request from the planning department. Ms. Wikila, please.
Through you, Mr. Chair, Planning Department agrees to remove the adjournment as the applicant redesigned to comply with the last non-compliance. Thank you.
So regarding section 161.13H, that's.
Yes, we
now?
can. Yeah, we can proceed with the application. Thank you.
All right. All right, then what we'll do is we will put this this application back into the normal order of proceedings.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Wikila. And the final adjournment request we have is for item number 16. This is also coming from the planning department. This is 55 Armstrong Avenue. It's to permit the application is to permit renovations to an existing detached dwelling and add a 3rd unit. Minor variances include reduced front and easterly side yard setbacks. Speakula again.
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, an updated revised site plan and elevations were requested from the applicant at the previous hearing and none was provided. So we don't have sufficient information for review against the compliance with the zoning bylaw. Thank you.
So you're still missing site plan?
And elevations.
You're still missing revised elevations.
Yes, elevations with the indicated information for compliance.
Okay. Mr. Ziegler is the applicant, is the agent for the applicant. Is he there?
Mr. Chair, Mr. Ziegler doesn't appear to be online.
All right, well, I think given the long history of this application, well, Ms. Hoad is online for the Hindenburg Community Association. Ms. Hoad.
I would like to concur with the request for adjournment. We have some serious questions as well about the conformity with the R4UB bylaw. Thanks.
Right. Okay.
Do you want my address?
Yeah, please.
Unit
Whatever.
509 1000 Wellington Street West. Not
Okay.
the same as the Community Association's letterhead.
Okay. All right.
Thanks.
Any questions or comments from the members? I think, again, as I said, given the complexity of this issue, it seems the difficulty of obtaining information from the applicant. I think it's probably best for us to adjourn this application sine die. All in favor of adjourning the application sine die? The application is adjourned sine die. Thank you, Ms. Hogue. Thank you, Mr. Gula. We'll now move to the regular agenda. Which I will have to remind myself to administer the oath or solemn declaration. Bad habit of forgetting. All right. First application on the regular agenda is item number 2. 149 Drummond Street. This is an application to permit reduced interior side yard setbacks for a proposed 2-story addition. And Mr. Sim, I believe, is the agent for the applicant. Is he there?
I'm here.
And your address for the record, please.
I'm the agent for the applicant, 149 Drummond.
Okay, that's your business address?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
My personal address?
Your address for your business, yes.
Okay, 1886 Maryville Road.
All right, thank you. Okay, before we begin, I'll administer the oath. You solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided to you as part of the application process and by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing and clearly visible and legible during the entirety of that time.
I do.
Okay, and very briefly, the nature of your application.
We are proposing for a reduced interior side setback. What we are looking to do is do a addition to the home and square it off with the existing footprint of the building. And so we're looking to continue along the side of the building and basically continue that. It is a very narrow lot, so we're looking to basically keep a clean visual and a clean addition to the existing dwelling, which is in line right now with a deck extension for the side of the building. So we are requesting for a reduced setback from 1.8 to 1.2.
That reflects an existing condition.
That reflects an existing, the existing dwelling. Absolutely, yes, the existing setback.
Okay, and for us to consider this application, we have to have some assurance that that the application meets the 4 tests of the Planning Act. So, do you mind addressing the 4 tests, please?
Sorry, that it supports the Planning Act?
Or the 4 tests of the Planning Act, Mr. Sim. Does this application,
if you're just looking for a yes,
application, let me just read them to you. Does this application meet the intention and purpose of the official plan? Does it agree with the intention and purpose of the zoning bylaw? Are the variances minor and are they designed for? Fourthly, are they desirable for the appropriate development or use of the land?
Yes.
How?
Here, let me just share my screen here. Oh, I guess I won't share my screen. Disabled. Okay. So how it let me think here. Well,
purpose of
basically
the official plan.
Sorry. Just give me 1 second here, guys. Just gonna pull up my note. I just lost on my screen here. Just give me 1 second here. Okay, so the application for the variance is minor in nature. It is not exceeding existing limits, stretch of existing building of the house on the site towards the interior side. It isn't changing the building height. It maintains the function of the building, Group C residential. The variance will fulfill the needs of the existing use of the house by enriching the space, maximizing functionality, added values, creating aesthetic appearance, compatibility with the existing structure. So it's in line with the existing house, very aesthetically pleasing, makes a lot of sense to square off the building. The general intent and zoning is maintained by not changing the requirements of zoning bylaw, residential area. The general intent, purpose of the official plan is maintained by providing established actual project proposal, function, purpose, and constructability of the structures. According to building regulations and planning city policies for future growth of the city and a framework to guide the city's physical development. So the proposed design would not have any impact on trees, property access, parking, or neighboring units.
You're aware that you need to contact Hydro regarding servicing requirements?
Yes.
Okay. And I think we approve this application. We're going to tie the approval of the application to the life of the building. It's already in existence.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Any questions, comments from the members of the panel regarding this application? All right. And or all in favor of granting the application? Your application is granted. Good luck with your project.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Next application is 515 Chapel Street. And this is an application to permit reduced rear and side yard setbacks for the construction of a 12-unit low-rise apartment building. The agent for the applicant is a Mr. Silbert. Is he there?
Hi.
Mr. Silbert.
Hi,
Your address for the record, please.
525 Chapel Street.
All right. All right, Mr. Silbert. The committee would appreciate a brief presentation on your application, please.
Sure. Could I have it up on the screen, please?
Mr. Chair, can we get the oath read?
Oh, right.
Yeah, I said it.
I was going to remind you too. I was thinking about it before I got
I
on.
was going to have to remind myself, and I didn't. You solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided to you as part of the application process and by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing and clearly visible and legible during the entirety of that time.
I do so, sir.
Okay, please proceed.
I had it was going up on the screen and then disappeared there. Perfect. I think it's coming up. I'm not sure this is the first page. Can we? There we go. Okay. All right. Next slide. So the subject is currently a triplex constructed in 2016, which is a student-oriented development with 3 units and approximately 19 bedrooms. It's in a mixed neighborhood with in Sandy Hill area, close to proximity of the university, where you have a mix of triplex, single-family homes, duplex, low-rise apartment buildings. I have addressed sort of the neighboring properties around. Next slide, please. Subject's property is mid-block in the block between Mann Avenue and Templeton at the very south end of Sandy Hill. Next slide, please. On the north side of the property, you'll see 515 Chapel, which is a duplex. And then to the south of the property is an infill property on approximately the same size lot where a single family and two duplexes, or sorry, a semi-detached and a single were built on that lot. So 3 buildings there. And behind it is a number of single family and multi-unit dwellings on the block behind. And just across the street, you'll see, again, a mixture of single family, semi-detached, and duplexes. Next slide, please. The redevelopment is intended, has been worked with the neighborhood association, neighbors, and everything to convert what is currently a sole student housing application, which 3 units, 19 bedrooms, so about 6, and a 7-bedroom unit. The redeveloped site will create a more traditional style building, a 12-unit building, which will have bachelors, 2 bedrooms, and 3-bedroom units that would fit in with the neighborhood typology of allowing both students as well as professionals, teachers, everything who can rent this building. It will feature indoor garbage, indoor parking, as well as a cold exterior shed for tenant storage outside. Everyone complains there's never enough storage at the units. So this is a look at the rendering of the building when it will be completed. Next slide, please. This is our site plan for the proposed development. As you can see in the lighter shade is the existing addition that was built onto the building in 2016. The original single family home still remains at the front. It's a unit. There were 2 units put on the rear addition, which is the lighter portion in the back. At the time, and I'm not sure if it still is, but at the time the triplex rules allowed a 1.2 meter setback of the building on the side yards. And at that time, a 7.5 meter setback, 25% of the lot depth. At the time it was built in 2016. That rear portion of the building is being retained. The new portion is replacing the original single family home with the portion closest to the street on your left. That is will hold 8 units, where the rear portion will be divided up into 4 units. That front portion of the building will meet all zoning bylaws and setbacks. The minor variances being sought are for the existing portion of the building at the rear, in the lighter shade. Next slide.
So as far as variance A is concerned, which side yard is this? The north or the south?
It's both the north and the south.
Okay, so it's both side yards.
Both side yards.
Okay.
The building was built at that time. The building was built to the allowed setbacks, which was just under, I think it was 1.2, although the building seems to be slightly askew at 1.12 in one particular corner. It's not the original building's not square to the lot. So the building.
So both side yards are at 1.14.
1.12 actually, as I'm looking at the thing here. It's 1.14 at one end and 1.12 at the other end, but the variance is required on both, as the required setback is 1.5 for a low-rise apartment building.
So the closest to the property line is 1.12?
I think I'm seeing it up here, although maybe I should blow it up on something. I'm looking at it's a little blurry, so I would like to check. And
our variance specifically references permitting a reduced side yard setback of 1.14. So I think we need to get the math straight.
Yeah, let me just check my high resolution version of the site plan so we can, the PDF doesn't make it to super high definition. Oh, okay, I'm reading that wrong. It's a 1.32 at that one side. It's just the blurriness of it. So 1.14 is the shortest dimension.
Okay.
At any side yard.
1.14 is accurate. Okay.
Yeah, that's a 3. 1.32 up there beside the 1.5. So yeah, well, 1.14 is still correct. Yeah.
And then variance B is to permit a reduced rear yard setback of 7.55 meters.
Yes, the OMB decision changed the rear yard setback from a 25% to a 30% lot width, or sorry, lot depth, which would set it at, I'm not sure exactly the math on it, 8 point. Second, I'll tell you.
By the way, we have to correct a typo in our notice that went out on B. We've referenced this as requiring a minimum side yard setback of 30%. That should read rear yard setback. That would be amended.
Yes, it would be, because the rear yard set by the 30% OMB decision. Yes.
I don't think you want a side yard setback of 30% of the lot.
No, I'd have a very skinny building.
Yeah. Okay, please proceed.
The rear yard setback required under the new OMB decision is 9.17, whereas we're seeking at 7.55.
All right.
I'll have the next slide, please. Here, my zoning chart with all the information we've been talking about. Here we go. But yes, yeah. So as discussed, the nearest minimum side yard setbacks are 1.14. This is for the existing portion of the building. The new building complies at 1.5 meters on the interior side yard setbacks. Yes, for both side yards. And then the rear yard setback for the new building doesn't apply because it's well beyond the 30%, but the old building requires it at 7.55, as that's the footprint of the existing building.
At what stage are you regarding site plan?
We are basically ready to go. I'm needing this, and then we'll be having concurrence from staff. So
there'll be no further variances required as a final review of the site plan?
No, there'll be no further variances required.
Okay. All right.
I'll make a note. The city went and rezoned this street as part of the R4UB, providing zoning to allow a 12-unit building for the site. It was my intent to use that zoning as was, but unfortunately, because of the change of use from a triplex to a low rise, it's why it triggers the requirement for these variances, although the building is in existence. I'll have the next slide, please. This is just a survey indicating, it's highlighting the existing buildings setbacks. See 7.55 and the 1.14 as being the narrow one. Their side, you'll see 1.32 on the other side. So. Mr. Wall, you have a question? Would you like to answer it now?
Are you finished, Mr. Silver?
No, but he had his hand up, so I'll wait for the question.
I will while
continue
when you're done.
We'll come back to it. Yeah.
Please continue.
The line on here indicates the other buildings in the area, which also share the same 25% setback. At the time they were built, they were legally conforming. That includes the semi-detached single families, as well as the single family and the semi-detached buildings to the south, as well as a building at 509 Chapel Street. Again, these buildings were built prior to the OMB decision, and at the time, the 25% rear yard setback was what was required at the time. So it fits in very much with the character of the adjacent properties. Next slide, please. Again, this is just reviewing the fact that the new building is entirely in compliance with all zoning setbacks. This is simply a 1.14 meter setback requirement for the existing building that is being retained as part of this development. Next slide. I've, for your benefit, brought up the floor plans, although they don't really impact the variances, but they're here for your references. The existing building, as you can see, is this is unit 2 in the rear, which is a 2-level 6-bedroom unit oriented at students. Next slide. This is the upper unit in the rear of the building, which is a 2-level 6-bedroom unit, again, oriented at students. These will be separated into individual floors, will they become 3-bedroom, just about 1,000 square foot units, which is a nice transition between, I think, what people are asking for, which is sort of a missing middle family units, which are 3-bedroom, kitchen, living, dining room. It's kind of close to the 613 flats that was brought as part of the new OP. Next slide, you'll see the proposed floor plans. Again, this is pretty hard to see on this PDF as it's high resolution, but you'll note that there's indoor garbage on the left. That's the basement unit, so the basement down there. So it's a walk down ramp that allow indoor garbage, as well as some indoor bike parking, mechanical rooms, and 2 bachelor units in the basement. Ground floor will consist of traditional 2-bedroom units around the 750 square foot area. And if you have the next slide. Well, again, this is the 2nd and 3rd floor. Again, 2-bedroom units in the front, and at the back, the individual units will be 3-bedroom units at the back. Next slide. Let's turn on your left here. Yeah. Oh, that's it for me.
Okay. All right. So as far as the 4 tests are concerned, Mr. Silver.
Yes. If you give me 1 sec, I addressed them in my cover letter, so I'll just bring it up and read from that, if you don't mind. Please find, okay, for test the community, okay, I'm gonna read them, give me 1 sec. The variance is minor. To establish if the request is minor, we have to consider two things. If it's not too large in relation to required, and if it's not too important to be considered a minor variance. As a general rule of thumb, these variances are considered minor if they don't have to deviate too far from the existing rules. The rear yard setback is proposed at 7.55, whereas required is 9.17 meters. This is a deviation of about 17.6%. And the side yard setback of 1.14 to 1.5 meters is a 24% deviation, although I would say small in overall size, and that it's less than 2 feet. The general urban design guidelines for low infill rise housing. The urban design guidelines for low infill rise housing and development of vacant lots or portions of vacant lots in an established area. As I said, the city has just previously rezoned this area to encourage this type of infill development. As our attempt to infill a development where the OP and the zoning bylaws support this type of intensification while utilizing an existing building that is currently in place. The 2014 provincial policy statement, which came into effect in April of 2014, provides direction for good use of land use and planning in matters of provincial interest, and outline provincial government's vision and policies in these matters. Again, I provide a long wordy one, but I'll skip to it. Basically, encouraging densification in urban and downtown areas that can accommodate this. This is a neighborhood that is in close proximity to transit. It's a walkable neighborhood with well serviced by roads, infrastructure, commercial, and employment areas. And the last one, the general intent and purpose of the official plan is to be maintained. So the site area is designed to conform with the general urban area, which is residential low rise. This is a low rise apartment building that fits within that general OP, and recognize the importance of the new developments relating to existing community character, so that enhances and builds upon the desired established patterns built and form. We spent a great deal of time trying to match the neighborhood feel, red brick, and established character that is Sandy Hill. Consider its contribution to the maintenance and achievement of a balance of housing types, tenure, and provide a full range of housing for a variety of demographic profiles throughout the general urban area. As I stated earlier, this intent of this project is to bring a type of housing typology that is open to all people, not just student oriented. So we're trying to transition to a form that can be rented by everybody, including students, but also those who are young professionals, families, everything. So, and access oriented ground units, multiple housing forms such as duplex, triplex, and low-rise apartment buildings. We've gone to great lengths to design a building that actually has a feel of the ground floor units are oriented towards the street. They have their own private access. So trying to have that feel of a walk-up or a brownstone versus an apartment building. So we've gone through ways to try and design that to keep with the, again, general OP. Those are my three things. I have a much more wordy answer if you want on my cover letter.
I take it you're not providing parking on site?
Nope, no parking will be provided on site.
Okay, and you're aware of the objections from some of the neighbors on the street?
I am. Unfortunately, I can't say it's possible to please everyone. I will say I have worked a long time with the community association. We've done a design charrette on this building to work towards trying to bring a different type of housing to the unit. Not everyone's going to be happy, but I think it helps the neighborhood versus hurts it. So.
Well, we note that there's no objection from Action Sandy Hill.
Yeah.
Just a couple street residents, and their objections are primarily regarding the tenants.
And to be honest, I note their objections, and my goal is to eliminate what the issue is that they're having with the objection. So we have the same goal in mind, but they see the development as different. But I think it'll deal with their objections, believe it or not. I'm a resident. I live 4 doors down. I manage and own, and I intend to stay.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Silver. Is that it for you?
It is. I think Mr. Wilder still has some questions. I'm happy to answer it now.
Mr. Wilder, please.
Yeah, no, I guess, sorry. I guess you've answered some of my questions with regards to consultation. Obviously, there is some concern with regards to, you're talking now, were you involved with the actual construction of the rear unit?
I was,
With
yes.
the 6 bedrooms now make up 6 units comprise 19 bedrooms. There's 19 students in that at the rear.
Yep.
And you're now going to have 14 units, 6, and 2.
12.
6, oh, I saw
12,
6. All right. So those 12 units are going to be subdivided at all, and you just when it's all said and done?
Yes, the 6 bedrooms in the rear will be split into 2, so there'll be 4 3-bedroom apartments in the back. The front 7-bedroom house is being torn down, and that will form 8 units in the front, which will be a mixture of 6 2-bedrooms and 2 bachelors.
I see. So in total, you expect some of those will be, again, student accommodation, right? So it's gonna be a large student housing development, pretty much. I mean, you may have a young professional in there, another couple, but in terms of the missing middle, I don't see how you're quite reaching the missing middle. But anyway, but that's fine. That's all I have. That's all the questions I have. Thank you.
The new OP brought in the idea of the 613 flat, which is a 6-room, 3-bedroom flat, which is what essentially we're going to have in the back, which is 3-bedroom, 1 bathroom, a kitchen, a living room, dining room. The kitchen dining room is combined with the living room. It's a good size unit. It's over 1,000 square feet. I am hoping to attract other than students. I've managed that property since I built it in 2016. I understand the challenges that come with students. I understand the turnover that comes with those large units. I'm hoping to attract a different kind. You know, the market will tell and we'll see, but that's the goal. They're certainly designed with nice granite countertops and, you know, they're brand new, beautiful bathrooms. They're, you know, the goal is to be an open thing. Mr. Wilder, I encourage you to come rent one. I would love to rent it to you.
Regarding the zoning bylaw amendment, exactly what is it and what is the status?
Zoning bylaw amendment is the same variance as I'm seeking here. Unfortunately, staff are extremely heavy on files. This is a file that's really been delayed, and I'm here to try and help speed up that process. I've worked with the tenants to vacate on May 1st, and I'm trying to start construction. And unfortunately, this is the way with staff workload it is, and it's not necessarily their fault, but it's just the way it is. They are unable to get my file in front of committee until later, and then I have to get the city council. Then there's an appeal period there, and I know as we run up to an election, I believe I'm hearing rumors that a lame duck council will be declared, and there won't be anything going through committee. So, you know, I'm here sort of as a safety plan to try and speed the project. I'm ready to go. As I said, we're ready to go with a delegated authority report once these variances have been granted, so I can get construction. I got neighbors bothering me. When are you going to get these guys out? When are you going to start construction on that building? So I'm here trying to speed up best I can.
You haven't told me what the nature of your zoning bylaw amendment is.
It's the same 2 variances I'm seeking. A reduction for side yard setback and rear yard setback for the same things. It's the same ones I filed for here.
Okay. Any questions, Ms. McLean, on that?
No, thank you. I think that clarifies the reference to the zoning bylaw amendment. I gather you'd be withdrawing the zoning bylaw amendment then if this application is successful?
Yeah, so I've discussed with staff. So pending either a verbal or a written decision, we have still 2 days before agenda has to be finalized for committee. So we will be withdrawing if we receive formal passing of it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the members of the committee? I think what we're going to do, Mr. Silver, is to tie an approval to the life of the building.
Fair. Yeah. No issues.
All right. Okay. With that understanding what the amendments to the variances A and B, well, not amendment A, the language of variance B.
But tore down the building, I could build it back in there.
We'll clean that up in our notice. All in favor of granting the application for this project? All right. Application's granted. Good luck with your project.
Thank you, committee. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye. Bye-bye. Next application we'll deal with on the agenda is item number 8, 502 Melbourne Avenue. And this is an application to divide the property into 2 parcels of land for 2 new detached dwellings. And the agent for the applicant is Mr. Kelly.
Well, Mr. Chair, members of the committee.
Mr. Kelly, this is a simple consent.
That's correct.
And is there anything else you need to add to the materials that you've provided us with?
I do not, Mr. Chair.
Right. Okay. Any questions from the members of the panel regarding this consent application?
Can we get a stat deck?
Oh, I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Chair?
Yeah, I'm gonna do this again. Mr. Kelly, you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided to you as part of the application process and by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing and clearly visible and legible during the entirety of that time.
I do swear.
Okay. All right. Any questions or comments from the panel regarding this consent application? No. Mr. Kelly, I note that the last time we spoke, your speech was somewhat garbled, so it's the same today. Makes it difficult to understand what you're saying. You may want to take a look at your mic. There might be something wrong. Anywho, all in favor of this consent application? This property?
Mr. Chair, we do have a speaker on this item.
Oh, do we? Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I have Mr. Kelly and Mr. Chown, and that's it on this application.
We had a last minute speaker register, Marnie Babinan.
Beaubien? All right. I don't have her on the list. All right. Please, Ms. Beaubien.
I wasn't choosing to speak, but I guess I was surprised that Murray was on the committee here, so I decided I might want to say something. So that's all. I just raised my hand to say I'm here.
You don't wish to make anything into this at all? No input? Oh yeah.
No, as far as I know, they're just severing the lot, but
That's correct. That's all it is. All right. Okay. All in favor of granting the consent? Consent's granted. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, members of the committee.
The next application on the agenda today is item number 10, 74 Marlow Crescent. There's an application to permit the construction of a 2-story addition with a reduced rear yard. And the agent for this application is Mr. Ritzy. Hey there, Mr. Ritzy. Mr. Ritzy available to speak? All right. Obviously, there are some connection problems. What we'll do is we'll stand this item down until later in the hearing. We'll move to items 11 and 12 on the agenda. 304 Selby Avenue. This is an agenda or an application, pardon me, to subdivide the property into 2 parcels of land for 2 proposed single detached dwellings. Minor variances are for lot widths and areas. And the agent for the applicant is Mr. Miller.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. I'll be acting as the agent for this application. Mr. Miller is not here today.
Okay, Mr. West, for the record, your address.
Sure, it's 240 Michael Copeland Drive, Suite 200.
Okay, and very briefly, Mr. West, exactly what is the nature of your application?
Mr. Chair, do we have to administer the oath for the signs?
Yes, we do. Thank you for reminding me. You beat the coordinator to it. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided to you as part of the application process and by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing and clearly visible and legible during the entirety of that time?
I do swear.
Okay, please proceed.
Thank you. I'd ask the coordinator to put up the presentation, and I will go quickly through it in the interest of respect for everyone's time.
Yep.
Thank you. So the applications in front of you today are minor variance and severance applications on the property municipally known as 304 Selby. Next slide, please. Thank you. Subject site is in the Kitchissippi ward. You can see it on the image in front of you in relation to Westboro Beach. Next slide, please. Subject property is an interior lot on the south side of Selby Avenue. It's a frontage of approximately 20.08 meters and an area of 697.97 meters squared. Next slide, please. Yeah, this just shows you the draft reference plan. Switch to the next slide, please. Thank you. The image in front of you is the severance application number 1, which creates part 1 of the draft reference plan. Next slide, please. And the image in front of you here shows the second severance application, which creates part 2 on the draft reference plan. So I'm going to skip most of the rationale for the severance applications, but I can certainly expand if needed. But it's our opinion that severances meet the tests under the Planning Act. The variances that we're requesting are a reduction in lot width and a reduction in lot area, lot width of 10.06 meters and a lot area of 349.5 meters squared for both of the lots. If you go to the next slide, please. Perfect. Can you go to the next slide, please? Excellent. Thank you. So with respect to the first test for minor variance, the general intent and purpose of the official plan is maintained. Under the current official plan, the subject property is designated general urban area, which seeks to permit the development of full range and choice of housing types to meet the needs of all ages, incomes, and life circumstances. And the proposed development applications is an example of intensification of the general urban area that seeks to promote a full range and choice of housing types. With respect to the new official plan, the subject property is designated neighborhood in the inner urban area and is also located within the evolving overlay, which promotes intensification. With respect to the second test, the minor variances maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. The figure in front of you illustrates the subject property in green, as well as a whole assortment of properties in red around the subject property. And these parcels, and there's 69 of them total on the screen in front of you, are parcels where the built form isn't reflective of the zoning bylaw. So as an example, just on Selby alone, there are 13 detached dwellings on the south side of Selby that have a lot width and lot area that are consistent with the requested variance, requesting about 10-meter width and about 450 meter squared lot area. And similarly, on the north side of Selby, there's 10 detached dwellings which also share essentially the exact same dimensions for which we're seeking variances of. So the majority of the detached dwellings just on Selby alone, out of all the dwellings on the street, have a lot width and lot area that is consistent with the requested variances that are in front of you. So the requested variances, facilitate a built form that is consistent on this street, and the built form that we're proposing is consistent and compatible with all the lot sizes on Selby and further down Ferndale and Beech Grove Avenue to the south. With respect to the third test, the variances are considered desirable for the use of the land as the infill development supports intensification while having regard for existing uses, built form, and as I mentioned, lot fabric of the neighborhood. As I just mentioned, there's a lot of examples of similar lots in the neighborhood and specifically on Selby. The reduced lot area is consistent with surrounding built forms, and the proposed variances are considered desirable for the use of the land. If you switch to the next slide, please. Or sorry, if you switch to the previous slide, I just had them out of order. Apologies for that. Thank you. So just to touch on intensification of the subject site, the subject site is located within 600 meters of the proposed Westboro LRT station, and it's within about 900 meters of the Kitchissippi LRT station. It's within about 300 meters of convenient bus transit services, and there is a lot of neighborhood amenities such as shops, restaurants, parks, all sorts of things to the south along Richmond Road. With respect to the fourth test for minor variance, is considered minor in nature. As I've previously mentioned, there is a lot of examples of similar built forms for detached dwellings on Selby in close proximity to the subject property. The requested variances to permit the reduced lot width and lot area will have no impact on the functionality of the site and will have no impact on the streetscape. So the proposed variances have no impact on the streetscape and on the function, and it's our opinion that they're considered minor in nature. Switch to the next slide, please. Thank you. So it's just our opinion that the proposed development meets all four tests, or the proposed variances, meet all four tests of the Planning Act and represent good land use planning. I'd be happy to provide additional clarification, additional information should it be required. Thank you.
You're aware of hydro standard comments and the conditions that the city wishes to impose: cash in lieu of parkland, tree planting plan, location of proposed structures to be based on least impact to trees, an existing dwelling removed, an accessory structure removed, the servicing plan, grading and drainage plan, asphalt overlay condition. And if I might ask the question of the planner on this application, condition number 8 is an agreement on title to deal with noise from an active railway line. This house is approximately 400 meters from the LRT line. Mr. West? Distance?
It's approximately 400 meters to
that LRT line is in a trench, correct?
I believe so, yes.
The committee sort of wondering, Ms. Bukila, what the noise impact of a train line 400 meters away and in a trench is going to have on this home.
So this kind of notice applies when the development is proposed within 500 meters. So they're within.
No consideration to the fact that this LRT line is going to be subsurface.
It's required by the official plan, so no consideration.
All right. Well, I guess we'll have to stick with it then. Just trying to get you out of a condition, Mr. West. I guess not.
Appreciate it, Mr. Chair.
Well, you're welcome. All right. Any questions from the panel regarding this application? Prepared to vote? All in favor of the application as provided? Right. The application is approved. Good luck with your project.
Mr. Chair, Ms. Casserly wanted to speak to the item.
Oh, sorry, Ms. Casserly, Westboro Beach Community Association. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, I had registered. Catherine Casserly, 289 Selby, almost across the street from the proposed development. Also speaking for Westboro Beach Community Association. I've had a chance to speak to a lot of the neighbors. The one concern we have is it says it's going to, and we've raised this before, two detached buildings. We want to make sure that there's no apartment buildings kind of being snuck in or extra apartment units, because we've had that issue with a couple of buildings lately. So if we had that addressed, we'd appreciate it.
That's really not within our purview, Ms. Casterly. We have to rely on the integrity of the applicant and the property owner. They say they're going to build two singles on a lot which is being severed. We have to believe them, I'm afraid.
Mr. Chair, our clients certainly won't be building something that's not permitted under the zoning bylaw. There won't be any apartment buildings built on these properties.
Thank you, Mr. Chown. All right, so all in favor of the application as presented? The application's granted. Good luck with your project.
Thank you very much. Have a good day now.
All right. Next application on the agenda is item number 13, 283 Ferndale. And this is to permit a reduced easterly side yard setback for the construction of a second-story balcony. And the agent for the applicant is Adam Fritz. Is he there?
Good afternoon, Chair and Committee. My name is Jay Lim, 258 Architecture and Urban Design. I am the agent for the owners. Address is 60A LeBreton Street North.
All right, and very briefly, the nature of your application, please.
We are looking for relief on the side yard setback to.
Can we get the oath read,
Oh, sorry.
Chair?
Sorry. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided to you as part of the application process and by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing, including visible and legible during the entirety of that time?
I do.
Okay, please proceed.
We are looking for relief on a side yard setback for a balcony at 283 Ferndale Avenue. We provided a small presentation. I don't know if the coordinator is able to put that up. Thank you. This is the existing property at 283 Ferndale. It has an existing legal non-conforming carport. Next slide, please. The carport is an existing prior to 2008, and all other elements of the subject property are in conformance with the zoning. Next slide, please. The adjacent property, which could be affected, is 281 Ferndale. 281 Ferndale is currently an NCC parcel and is being used as a throughfare to the SJAM to the north. Currently, the property at the NCC property is only 7 meters wide and would not conform to the current zoning bylaws, even if it was to be developed. We have contacted the NCC. There is no immediate plans to develop that area. So there is no adjacent neighboring property that would be affected by this zoning, this minor variance. Next slide, please. Here is the site plan. And what we are showing here is the current carport is 532 millimeters from the subject property line. The current bylaw requests that the balcony be 1 meter from the property line.
Yep.
So we're looking for a relief of about 400 millimeters. Next slide, please. This is the subject property in an axisymmetric view. Next slide, please. This is the plane of the setback, showing the existing carport. Next slide, please. This is the addition, which stays within the zoning bylaws within the setback. So we're building within that area, and the existing carport is to remain. Next slide, please. This is the privacy cover required by the zoning bylaws. Next slide, please. It is being opened up and to enable the occupants to view the treetops and some birds next door. Next slide, please. This shows a screen and the existing screening, which will sit on the existing legal non-conforming carport. Next slide, please. I think that's it. Thank you. This variance is minor. The extent of the impact of the proposal of the neighborhood properties is minor. The height of the proposed development will not create any effect to sunlight, daylight, or the adjacent properties. The variance is desirable for the appropriate development. It only seeks a minor variance for the zoning bylaw for the side yard setback. The general intent of the proposed zoning bylaw is maintained, and the general intent of the proposal of the official plan maintained, and it is the impact of the proposed design on the neighborhood properties will be negligible or none, and we do have a letter of support from the neighbors supporting this addition.
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Lim. Just as a notice, the legal description that we published as lot 283 is changed to part of lot 71, plans 267, part 2 on 4R-16984. So that's the accurate designation.
All right, thank you.
Not lot 283. Ms. Casserly from the Westboro Beach Community Association, please proceed.
Thank you. Catherine Cassidy, 289 Selby Avenue, user of the path beside the house and representing Westboro Beach Community Association. We've had a chance to talk to some of the neighbors and no one has any concerns, so we do not oppose the request.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Casserly. Any questions from the members? Mr. Wells.
Just real quick for the agent, have you applied for your building permit for this?
Yeah, this is the outstanding element.
Okay, that's all I needed. Thank you.
Any other questions for the members of the committee regarding this application? Prepared to vote? All in favor of the application with the amended legal description? Your application is approved. Good luck with your project.
Thank you very much, committee. Have a great afternoon.
You too. Bye-bye. Next application on the agenda is item number 14, 482 Preston Street. It's to permit a proposed outdoor commercial patio to be located on the roof and to be closer to a residential zone than allowed. And it's further off the ground than allowed and closer to the residential zone than allowed. The agent is Mr. Dunstone. It's further off the ground than allowed and close to the residential zone. The agent is. Are you there, Mr. Dunstone?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me?
Yep. Your name and address for the record, please.
I'm afraid I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
I'm not muted. My apologies. One moment. Mr. Chairman, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Can you hear me?
Okay, I can't hear you, but I'm going to the YouTube feed, and hopefully I can hear you this way.
Can you hear me now, Mr. Dunstone?
One moment, I'm gonna dial in.
Welcome to Zoom. Enter your meeting ID followed by pound.
Appuyez sur le Z.
Enter your participant ID followed by pound. Please enter the meeting password followed by pound. You have joined the meeting as an attendee and will be muted throughout the meeting.
Can you hear me now, Mr. Dunstone?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
Hi, my apologies for my
Right.
this afternoon.
That's all right. First of all, we'll administer the oath. First of all, your address for the record, Mr. Dunstone.
It's 482 Preston Street, Ottawa.
All right.
4.
And before we begin the oath, do you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided to you as part of the application process and by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing and clearly visible and legible during the entirety of that time?
I do swear.
All right. This application is back before us after being adjourned in order to undertake a noise impact study. So you have, I think we have a copy of the noise study in our package. If you could articulate what that says, along with justifying the relief that you seek. So please proceed, Mr. Dunstone.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'll start with the requested relief. We are seeking to establish a rooftop outdoor patio in connection with the main floor cafe at an elevation of 5.21 meters, where the bylaw prohibits elevation of the outdoor patio at any level greater than 2 meters. We're also seeking to reduce the yard setback to 14.1 meters on the westerly limit. That's to the rear of the premises, where the zoning bylaw requires a 30-meter setback.
Okay.
So the applicants are they're cognizant of community impact, and they do propose a number of measures on the operation of the rooftop patio. All exterior lighting will be subdued and only provided to a maximum of what allows safe movement around the patio and the staircases. Also, a 2-meter screen will be erected along the westerly limit, separating the residence to the west from the patio, and I'll speak on that a bit.
Is that going to be a solid privacy screen, Mr. Dunstone?
It's a wood privacy screen, and behind which will be a plexiglass barrier to prevent any noise from issuing beyond that.
Is that shown on any of the elevations we have in our package?
Yes, the screen is shown on one of the elevation drawings.
I don't see it yet.
The 2 meters high screen is noted on the site plan setback 14.1 meters. There are red lines indicating the residential zoning boundary, and then the 2 meter high screen along the west side of the patio.
This is the site plan that we have in our possession dated March 23rd, 2021.
I'm not sure if I'm able to share my screen. It doesn't look like it. I can forward this.
What's in front of me? What's in front of us right now? Sorry, but that doesn't show. That doesn't show the screen.
Right. I see that, and everything that I have on file was shared with the committee office.
Yeah, we have it. We have it in our package right here. There's a residential zoning boundary that's been included in the site plan. You've circled the garbage shed in the bottom corner, and then the 2 meter screen has been identified on the western extent of the building envelope.
Right. So what would you like to?
That's accurate, and what I'm looking at is not.
Okay, that is accurate. That is where the 2 meter screen will be located, and that will be constructed of wood, and along the rear of the screen, plexiglass.
Okay. So that should take care of any spillover noise problems in your estimation.
Yes, it will.
When it comes to since we're speaking about noise, what are the conclusions from the noise study that were undertaken?
The noise study was commissioned by the applicants as a result of some comment from 2 households on Pamela Street citing noise concerns. The state-of-the-art acoustic performed the study, and their report outlines their credentials and the methodology of the study. To summarize the 10-page report from a layman's perspective, the study did find that the proposed patio would not generate any amount of noise exceeding the city noise guidelines. The study incorporated 3 points of reception: 88 and 90 Adeline Street to the west.
Those are the closest residential properties, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
And then 500 Preston Street. So specific findings were that any noise generated from the patio would not exceed 50 decibels, which is equivalent, I understand, to daytime background noise. And after 11 p.m., the noise would not exceed 45 decibels if a sufficient sound barrier were erected along the west side of the patio. One of, I guess, our concessions on this application is to not operate the patio past 11 p.m. And so I think the last part of the findings here are mute, in that the patio would not be open past 11 p.m. and therefore would not be producing greater than 45 decibels of sound.
What kind you going to provide any music on the patio?
Just low ambient background music. Yeah, no live
not live music.
No.
Okay. And you said your lighting is going to be muted? Or,
Yes.
you've got screening, hours of operation from what time in the morning to what time at night?
Generally 11 a.m. to 11 p.m. 7 days a week from April 1st to October 31st.
Because we're going to impose some conditions. I just want to make sure this is clear. Your the number of patrons, again, I take it will be controlled by the Ontario Lottery and Gaming Corporation when they issue a license.
That's right. We are proposing a seating capacity of 30 people on the rooftop terrace, and that will be supported by the building department.
And there's no intention to increase the size of that patio beyond 115 square meters?
No, it's not possible to increase the patio because it's entirely contained within the footprint of the building. And on that point, the patio will not exceed.
Okay. So the noise study, in the final analysis, the noise study finds that there's not going to be a problem with this patio significantly higher than it's allowed to be by the bylaw.
That's what I take away from the report. Yeah, as a layman, of course.
Okay. I think Ms. McLean and Ms. Oakeshott had questions. Ms. McLean, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have 3 questions, so I'll just read them out and then maybe Mr. Dunstone could respond. Just wanted to know if there were tenants in the same building, what the nature of the cafe is, and whether there was any consideration of putting the patio at grade where the site plan shows the parking. And lastly, your letter indicated that the hours would be 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. You just stated 11 a.m. So I just get some clarification on that as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McLean. Yes, I'm sorry. My letter does prevail. That's the instructions from the applicant. 3 p.m. to 11 p.m. 7 days a week. There was never any, I guess, doubt that the patio would go on the roof if permitted by the committee, because there is precedent for rooftop patios along Crescent Street, and it just affords a beautiful sight line of the street, of the general area. The parking to the rear is established parking for clients. The rooftop patio was built, purpose built with a commercial outdoor deck in mind. The engineering reports confirm that use, and so yeah, the applicant does wish the patio to be on the roof. The main floor has a cafe, and it has a capacity of about 8 people. There's also real estate offices and shared space within the building, both on the second floor and on the main floor. But generally speaking, it's the primary use or purpose is for a cafe, a meeting space.
Are there any residential tenants in the building?
No, just commercial.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Oakeshott.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm looking at page 2 of the noise study, and I'm looking at the photograph that shows 500 Preston. So my question is about at what height was the noise study made for the condo building? It looks like people in maybe the third or fourth floor might be looking out almost directly on the proposed patio. And you've talked about a privacy screen on the west side, but I'm wondering what measures are being taken to protect the noise levels and the privacy of the people in the condo building, the future residents.
Right. Excuse me, it's my understanding that the residential zone does not extend to the south of the building. So therefore, a screen wouldn't be required under the bylaw. However, the applicants are nevertheless putting a similar screen along the south side where the condo building is, with the wood and plexiglass as well. So I didn't include that that piece exclusively in the application or plans.
Actually, you've got a privacy fence identified in your site plan of the rooftop, both on the west side and the south side of the patio. Privacy fence. They're both identified.
Okay. Well, that's correct. Because there will be a privacy.
So the city can, or the committee can assume that that is going to be the same as the one on the west side, which will be 2 meters, 2 meter wooden fence with a plexiglass backing.
It will be exactly the same. So that can certainly go into the conditions of any approval.
And the structure, that the stair structure and the washroom facilities act as further screening for any noise being generated on that patio.
That's right, sir.
Yeah, that's higher than 2 meters.
Yes.
Are you satisfied, Ms. Oakeshaw, that we have some protection for the people at 500 Preston? With that,
I'm wondering if the planner could confirm about the residential zone to the south.
One moment. It's for sure.
I do believe it.
Just a second, Mr. Dunstone. Ms. Wakula, please.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ms. Wakula.
Yes, I believe it abuts the residential zone in the rear, but to the south, it abuts the TM zone. If I'm not mistaken, one moment.
I can confirm that, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, it abuts TM zone. So there is no requirement even for the setback or privacy screen.
Okay, thank you.
Surprising. Mr. Wildman, please.
Chair, I just got my question answered in the last 2 sentences from staff, so thank you.
Okay. Seems to me like there needs to be some changes in the TM zone. Anyway, okay. Anything further, Mr. Dunstone, on this application?
I would just like to mention that the planning department was consulted, and generally speaking, there was, I believe they had no concerns with the application. I can address the 4 tests if you.
Yep, please do.
Bearing in mind the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw, the intent of the traditional Main Street zone is to foster and promote a mix of different uses. The applicant is proposing several measures over the operation of the patio, including subdued lighting, subdued music on the patio, and limited operating hours. Including the operation of the patio during seasonal weather only, spring, summer, fall. A restaurant or cafe is a permitted use in the traditional Main Street zone, and with qualifications, obviously under the zoning bylaw, a commercial outdoor patio is permitted as well. There are numerous other commercial outdoor patios in the immediate area showing the general desirability of outdoor cafes and restaurant seating in the area. As indicated previously, the sound study was, or a sound study was commissioned by the applicant, and it confirms that the proposed patio will no more noise than what the guidelines permit. Test 2, the variance maintains the general intent of the official plan. The subject property is designated traditional Main Street. Traditional Main Street designation permits a range of uses, which include retail and service uses such as restaurants and cafes, offices, residential and institutional uses. Equally important to that, residents of the immediate community will be able to gather and enjoy this cafe and outdoor cafe without having to leave their community. The proposed patio does not deviate from the intent of the official plan for traditional Main Street zones, as the proposed use will contribute to the range of uses that currently exist in that area. The variance is minor in nature. Pardon me. The cafe and proposed patio are located in a commercial zone where such uses are generally permitted. There are established precedents for commercial outdoor patios in the immediate community. Many of these patios are located in traditional Main Street zones adjacent to residential zones, for which minor variances would have been granted in the past to permit their use. And test number 4, the variance is desirable for the appropriate development or use of the property. Based on the foregoing information, I think it can be concluded that the variance is desirable development. Commercial outdoor patio is consistent with the general community context. There are existing precedents in the immediate neighborhood and where those other patios have proven to integrate well into the traditional Main Street zone. So those are my submissions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Dunstone. Further questions from the members of the panel? I think we're going to reserve this on this application, Mr. Dunstone, to discuss the conditions that we'll be imposing. We've already discussed them just to get them clarified for staff, so we don't make any mistakes in our notice of decision. And you'll receive this notice of decision within 10 days of this hearing. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Welcome.
Bye-bye.
Next application on the agenda is item 15, 325 Hinchy. The planning department is no longer requesting adjournment on this application because the zoning issues have been resolved. And the agent for this application is Mr. Jalkatsi. Mr. Jalkatsi.
Hello, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Name and address for the record, please.
Yes, Christoph Jalkatsi, 331 Osgood Street, Apartment 3.
Okay. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided to you as part of the application process and by the company at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing and clearly visible and legible during the entirety of that time?
I affirm.
Okay. This is an application to permit the conversion of an existing duplex dwelling into a 3-unit dwelling. Minor variances include reduced lot width, lot area, reduced interior side yard setback and landscaped area, reduced glazing on front facade, no garage storage, reduced rear yard setback and area. Are we correct on that?
Yes, you are correct.
Okay.
Sure.
Before we proceed, Mr. Gelkatzi, the committee would like to know exactly how many units are in this building right now, housing units, dwelling units.
As far as I know, and in conversation, so the history on this application is that the owner of the property believed that the previous approval applied to him, and then made an application to bring the building up to building code standards. He made the application for a building permit and then was advised that the previous Committee of Adjustment ruling did not apply to the property because of the changes in zoning that have happened since that application was made.
I asked you how many units are in the building.
My understanding is that there's 2 in the building.
All right. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Gelkatzi. Please proceed.
Okay. Can you put up the presentation, please? Just to cover off, it is a variance that's requested that we believe is meets the 4 tests. So next slide, please. This is the decision that was made back in, I'm forgetting the date now, 1993, 2nd of December, that relates to the same property that converted it from a duplex to a triplex. Next slide, please. The property is an existing building. It's been there for quite some time. There's an easement on the north side of the property that provides access to a rear garage. There have been a number of additions to the existing building, and this is one small addition that is also requested as part of the request for relief, going from a semi-duplex to a triplex. Next slide, please. We believe it's supported. It's in an area of intensification in the new zoning bylaw, and in the zoning bylaw, excuse me, and the new urban and the new official plan. The plan supports this type of development, especially within existing buildings. It's also within the inner urban transit area and is supported in terms of the development as a, the area is called a evolving area. Next slide, please.
For your information, Mr. Gelkatzi, the new official plan really doesn't apply here anymore because the city's application was, timeline application was passed, so we're only dealing with the old OP.
Yes, thank you, sir, Mr. Chair. Currently, the next slide, please, in terms of the survey. So here you can see the setbacks as we've discussed them that require the minor variances. The building does cover most of the property and has covered most of the property since the time that the additions were added to the rear of the property in conformance at that time when it became a duplex. You can also see the right-of-way easement that is there on the property. Next slide, please. This is the part of the building where we set back the dormer that's being added to the 3rd floor, the 2 feet as required under the bylaw. This made for a much better looking building from this perspective. Can we go to the first slide now, please? So the variance and the permission are requested are minor for the following reasons. It's an existing building that is only slightly modified with the addition of the dwelling unit. The general intent of the zoning bylaw is maintained. The intent of the bylaw to permit 3-unit and secondary dwellings in existing duplexes, so either one or the other. The existing building will only be slightly modified, and the general intent of the existing official plan in terms of intensification will also be maintained in providing for gentle intensification as there is a very small addition to the existing building.
Well, we can go through the variances labeled A through H. The reduced lot width is an existing condition.
Yes.
The reduced lot area is an existing condition as well.
Yes.
The interior side yard setback to 0 meters is also an existing condition.
Correct.
The soft landscaping area of 1.7 meters reduction, is that an existing condition as well?
Yes, it is.
All right. The front facade of 17% windows, whereas it's supposed to have 25%, is an existing condition as well.
Correct.
No garbage storing in a building containing more than 2 but not more than 6 dwelling units is not an existing condition.
No.
So where's your garbage storage going to be?
It is going to be in the individual units. That's why we need we're making the request for the minor variance when we're going to 3 units.
Okay, so the garbage storage will be interior to the building.
Yes.
Okay. Reduce rear yard setback of 0% of the lot depth or 0.3 meters. Again, that is also existing.
Correct.
And
the 0% is because of roundings.
Yeah. And the reduced rear yard area of 1% of the lot area, again, once again, is an existing condition.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So the only one that isn't an existing condition is variance F.
Correct.
Okay. All right. Ms. McLean, you had a question or comment?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Jelkotsky, I just want to clarify the decision of the committee back in 2003 indicated that at that time the owner wanted to create a 3rd unit by leaving the existing unit over the garage and leaving it untouched and splitting the remaining house into 2 separate units. So I'm not sure what's being proposed here now, because there seems that indicates there was 2 dwelling units there now. Is that the case?
That's my understanding, yes. I haven't inspected the building myself. The building is rented, and I've relied on the owner of the property in terms of its condition. As far as my understanding is, I'm not aware of any orders on the property either.
So you showed the 1993 decision. I'm not sure if we could see that again. I didn't quite capture what you meant by it authorized the duplex.
No, it authorized the triplex. So it authorized the building to go from a duplex to a triplex.
In 1993?
Correct.
It seems to indicate that the 1993 decision dealt with the creation of a right-of-way.
That's only part of that decision. The full decision, which I think you have a copy of, because we provided it, indicates that the property is going from a duplex to a triplex. That was what the permission was for.
Well, I saw that in the 2003 decision, but so I don't see it here in the 1993 decision.
I have to apologize. I put the wrong slide up in that regard. It is the correct, what you said through you, Mr. Chair, is that the decision to go from a duplex to a triplex was in 2003. It's my error.
And I wonder if we could just see the plan that showed, I'm not sure if it was the dormer plan, or can we just go, that plan there, the top elevation drawing shows 3 meters on the property there. 3, is that hydrometers at the front?
Those are hydrometers in the front. They would be for a whatever common area there might be, as well, because the garage is common, as well as the 2 units in all likelihood.
Do you have any photographs? I can't get an idea of where this garage or how it relates to the property here.
If you look at the drawing that you're seeing there, the existing building as well as the new addition building, the garage is at the rear. On the left side of the drawing, you'll see a set of stairs going up to the second floor at the back there, and behind that is where the garage is.
So what's the so is it being used for parking?
My understanding is yes.
And what's the projection of that red hatch out there?
The projection of the red hatch is part of the landing at on the top floor.
And was there, I guess my last question then is, was there a building permit issued to convert it to a duplex?
My understanding is yes, it was fully in compliance as a duplex at the time that the committee dealt with it in 2003.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments from the panel? Right. Thank you, Mr. Gilcazzi. And just to confirm, the planning department is okay with this application now that the zoning issue has been resolved?
Yes, through you, Mr. Chair, we have no more concerns.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you, Ms. Wakula. Ms. McLean, do we wish to reserve on this application, or are we going to deal with it?
I'd like to reserve, Mr. Chair, please.
Reserve, okay. All right. All right, thank you, Mr. Gilcazzi. What we're going to do is we're going to reserve on the application today, and you will receive a notice of our decision in 10 days.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and panel.
Thank you. Bye-bye. The next application on the agenda is 311 bracket 315 on bracket Atlantis Avenue. And this is an application to sever the property into two parcels to construct a semi-detached dwelling with reduced lot widths and areas. And this is an application which was adjourned on April 6th and is coming back before the committee. And I believe that the planning department no longer has concerns regarding this application.
Through you, Mr. Chair, we have no concerns with the variant, with all the variants except the one for the corner side yard parking.
This is variance D?
Yes.
Yeah. And that reads to permit parking space to be located in the required and provided corner side yard into a rear yard, whereas the bylaw states no parking space may be established and no person may park a motor vehicle in the extension of a required and provided corner side yard into a rear yard. That's the amended variance request.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we oppose it because there is a possibility to park the car in accordance with zoning bylaw by providing an easement on another lot. Thank you.
And have you been in discussions with the applicant regarding a parking situation that meets the requirements of the bylaw?
Yes, this was indicated during pre-consult and ahead of the previous hearing. Yes.
And they still wish to remain or to keep the site plan the way that it is as the version we've had dated April 6, 2022.
To my knowledge, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
And that still generates the department's objection to variance D.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wakula. All right. Mr. Okay, the agent for the applicant is Mr. Zai. Is that how I
Yes,
pronounce the name?
yes, definitely.
Okay, and we have to administer the oath before we begin. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided to you as part of the application process and by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing and clearly visible and legible during the entirety of that time?
I do, sir.
Okay, so you're back before us again with some changes. We note that as far as the amendment on the property size, the property dimensions stay at 14.32 meters by 30.5, 294.3 square meters in depth. So there's no change there.
Correct.
I've already articulated the change to variance D. So the other variances, A, B, and C, are the same. So please proceed.
Yes, good afternoon, Mr. Chair and the rest of the members of the panel. My name is Kazim Ziai. I'm the agent for the owner for the property located at 311 Atlantis. And I have with me Mr. Majid Tabakuli, who's the project manager for this, for the owners. If you have any technical questions, he'll be happy to answer. So if we proceed to document one, the first picture, I mean, I guess the main point of discussion right now, is not items A and B, and I'm just going to focus on item D, the variance we're seeking. So this is how the existing structure looks, 311 Atlantis. As you can see, so we have Workman on one side and we have Atlantis on the other side. So the existing house actually has its parking space in the corner and into the rear yard. And you can see the car parked there. And as the main purpose for the owners wanting to keep it the way it is basically to preserve the green space, as you can see from the top, for as much as they can. They want to live there. And if we proceed to figure 2, this is again, figure 2, yeah, and this is again how the corner, from the corner, the property looks really green and lots of trees and nice. Neighbors have concerns about the trees, and they love they love the green space it provides to the neighborhood. If you proceed to the third figure, so the other option, if this is not granted, is to bring the parking space to the front, I believe, and that may cause that may have some impacts on the plants at the front, as well as the tree that I have circled as red in the in figure 3. And if we proceed to figure 4, again, this is just a comparison between what's happening in the neighborhood. These are the neighboring properties to the left, no green space, no soft landscaping, nothing at all. And we believe, and the owners believe, that having the parking space in the backyard, where it is right now, where it has always been, would actually create a really nice green space on Atlantis, as well as it'll allow us to save lots of plants, as well as a tree at the front. And if we move to document number 2, this is practically what we are proposing. Keep everything green at the front and to the side, go with the status quo, and have the parking space in the corner into the rear yard.
Where the vehicle parked on the right-hand side of the diagram that's variance D.
I'm sorry, which one for 311 Atlantis?
Right-hand side of the diagram, that's variance D.
That's variance D, right? The one, yes, that's the one we're seeking. Right in the corner, into the corner yard, into the rear yard. That's the one we're seeking, yes.
We still have the reduced lot width request from 7 to 7.62 from 9. We still have a reduced lot area of the 232.4 from 270.
Right.
Variance,
yeah,
variance C is
yeah,
deleted.
yeah, and the planning has
Beginning
the planning has no concerns with A and B.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
So yeah, so basically, the whole point is to keep the green space at the front, the trees at the front, and again, the owners want to live there and they want to really keep the prisoners, and they want to keep it the way it is right now, which has always been. And if you actually go, can we go back to figure to document 1, figure 1? Thank you. So as you can see where it's circled red, to the far right of that picture, I haven't circled nothing, but the neighboring property on Royal Avenue also has their garage from the side yard. So, I mean, it's just a matter of keeping everything the way it is. And again, I believe, and the owners believe, that the variance D that they're seeking meets the four test.
And how does it meet the 4 tests?
Well, the variance is minor. The requested variance is considered minor as the extent of the impact on the neighborhood is minimal. Number 2, the variance is desirable for the appropriate development or use of the property. The proposed development is designed to create compatible residential unit that is aligned with the pattern of the development of the community. The variances are desirable, and the proposed development will not impact the adjacent properties or any other properties in the neighborhood. The intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw is maintained. The requested minor variances do maintain the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw. The proposed development is consistent with the other existing semi-detached or other houses on Atlantis, with respect to size, setbacks, side yards, privacy, and parking, as well as the character of the neighborhood. Again, if we keep it like that, the character is maintained, and the general intent and the purpose of the official plan is maintained. The proposed minor variances respect the official plan as they effectively support the surrounding developments and respect the character of the existing area.
Thank you very much. Any questions for the applicant regarding this application? We also have Ms. Casserly from the West Beach Community Association on this list. Mr. Wildman has to second Ms. Casserly. Mr. Wildman has a question. Mr. Wildman.
Thank you, Chair. Just for Ms. Wakula, you heard the presentation from the agent, and with respect to your thoughts on and your introductory comments, did anything change that you heard today that would sway you on any of your concerns?
Through you, Mr. Chair, no, I still see the possibility to provide the parking space in the rear.
Thank you.
In place of the existing detached garage that will be demolished. So no trees will be impacted. Thank you.
Anything further, Mr. Wellman? Ms. Casserly, please.
Catherine Cassidy, 289 Selby, Westwood Beach Community Association. Some of our people in the zoning committee have talked to the neighbors, and no one has any concern about it. So we're not opposing the proposal.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Casserly. Do we wish to reserve on this application? Or should we make a decision now? Reserve? All right. What we're going to do, thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you very much.
We are going to reserve on this application, and you'll get our decision in 10 days.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, we do have Mr. Ritzy on the call now if we want to jump back to item 10.
Yep, that's next on the list. Well, Mr. Wildman has to leave us for item 5, which is why it's last. Next application on the agenda is item number 10, 74 Marlow Crescent. This is an application to permit the construction of a two-story addition with a reduced rear yard. And the agent for the applicant is Mr. Ritzy. Mr. Ritzy.
Yes, sorry for the.
Your name and address for the record, please.
Bill Ritzy at 4 Finley Avenue. And I'm the agent for the owners at 74 Marlow Crescent.
Okay, and very briefly, the nature of this, of your request.
Can we
Yes.
get
And
the
first
oath?
of all, we'll have to do the
Yes, sorry, yes.
The oath. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided to you as part of the application process and by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing and clearly visible and legible during the entirety of that time?
I do.
All right, please proceed.
So the variance that we're requesting today is a reduction in the rear yard setback of the required 30% to 28%, which numerically changes the setback of about 0.6 of a meter from 8 to 8.42 meters from 9.02 meters. The setbacks of 28-30% are in the zoning bylaw determined by the required front yard setback. In this particular zone, the required front yard setback is 3 meters, which if you build to that 3 meters, then you have ample rear yard. In this case, the existing house, which is almost 70 years old, was built at over 7 meters, which basically gave a fairly reduced rear yard as compared if you built new with a 3 meter. So the intent with the 7-year-old house, it's very compartmentalized, and the owners wishing to stay in their house were looking for a means of expanding their house to, as we call, aging in place, as the owners lose some ambulatory abilities. So the addition at the rear was basically for an open living space, kitchen on the ground floor with master bedroom and ensuite on the second floor. But the key thing is it's being accessed by an elevator. So the elevator, because of it provides access, and they will actually, in this case, because of the elevated front yard, will access through the garage and slope to the mudroom, which is the hatched area on that site plan, with the elevator that access both floors for future. It's an existing house which is quite compartmentalized, and rather than change the character of the existing house, they propose to add at the rear, where they can enjoy both the new and the existing portions of the house. Next slide, if I could get that, please. So the star is the existing lot in question, and I've basically, the owners have done an inventory, and I've highlighted the lots within the 60-meter radius that all have reduced rear yards. You can see that in many cases, there's very little separation between the rear of the house and their rear yards. Next, please. These are just some examples of showing built-out areas. This is the corner lot. This is their rear yard, actually, because their front yard faces the adjacent street. And so their sunroom basically is within meters of the rear yard. Next. These just give you examples of, there's another rear yard, which is basically a couple of meters. So this is definitely within the pattern of an established neighborhood when, zoning has changed and lots were built. But it's all everybody kind of manages without the new bylaws in place. Next, this is another last shot again of 2 rear yards. Everybody has used everything they have within their rear yards, and actually they're not looking for rear yards in this case, but more usable space above grade.
Okay. All right.
Another one.
Okay. So as far as the 4 tests are concerned, Mr. Ritzy?
Yes, I believe, as I've demonstrated, it's minor in nature with the 2% decrease in the rear yard. obviously consistent with the rear yard patterns of the existing neighborhood. It conforms to city bylaw, which is an aging in place process of retaining existing housing. And the last being that it's if you looked at the combination of the front and rear yard setbacks, it exceeds what is now required by the zone bylaw.
Okay. All right. Any questions, comments for Mr. Ritzie from the other members of the panel? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Ritzie. Prepared to vote on this? All in favor of granting the application as received? The application is granted. Good luck with the project.
Thank you very much.
We will now move to item 5 on the agenda, and we lose Mr. Wildman because he has declared interest in this application. Number 5 on the agenda is 66 Lewis Street, and it's an application to permit reduced rear yard and side yards for a new 3-story detached dwelling. And Mr. Mulholland is the applicant, agent. There.
Good afternoon.
Mulholland, for the record, your name and address, please.
Christopher Mulholland, Amstead Design Build. Our address is 7725 Llewellyn.
All right. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the notice provided to you as part of the application process and by the committee was posted at the property to which the application applies for the prescribed number of days before the hearing and clearly visible and legible during the entirety of that time?
I do.
All right. We have received all the materials in the package. Is there anything else to add?
Well, I think our application is fairly straightforward. So
very, very briefly, just describe what you're requesting.
Absolutely. So on the property now is an existing single family dwelling. We'll be tearing it down and replacing it with a new single family dwelling. The variances are required to recenter the house on the lot. Right now it's very, very close, almost touching one side property line with a larger setback up on the opposite side. We're going to shift it over and recenter it. So that's the reason behind the side yard setback minor variance. The others relate to the rear yard setback. As part of redeveloping the site, we're moving the building farther back on the lot, so increasing a larger front yard, a little better streetscape there, and bringing it more in line with some of the houses that have deeper lots. We'll be reducing the rear yard setback, keeping with that. So that's the reason for the second and third minor variances.
There's a laneway behind the home.
Yeah, there is a laneway behind, so access to the property is from there. There's an attached garage facing the laneway, so the entire frontage of the house remains kind of open and active.
So we lost the chair on this.
Okay, I was wondering if it was myself or the chair. Furiously checking my internet connection.
We'll just give it a few minutes to see.
Of course.
Anybody hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, I don't know what happened there. Okay, Mr.
We
Mulholland.
almost made it through today.
Pardon me?
We almost made it through the whole thing today.
Yeah, well, blame Central Florida. Okay. I think we could have had a couple of questions regarding this application. Now, you said there's access to the rear of the property from the lane.
Correct. Yeah. So the attached garage faces the rear lane, and the front is just completely windows and a more active entryway than what's there now.
So the question is on the side yards at 0.6 meters. Are those adequate enough to allow for maintenance of the sides of the home and access, let's say, with a ladder?
In our experience, they are. We're using a low maintenance material for the sides, so it reduces the amount of maintenance that's required. But certainly, we've been able to maintain properties with that setback before, and it's a definite improvement over the one side that's only 0.27 meters right now, I believe.
Yeah.
The maintenance on that one is quite challenging.
That's understood. But in your opinion, that's adequate for maintenance because you've got low maintenance siding. Any windows down that side? I assume there'll be.
No, the building code wouldn't allow any. We do have a recess on one portion to permit skylights, but there are no windows along either of those sides.
No, it's just simply siding and foundation.
Correct.
Okay. Blaine, you okay with the explanation via the side yards?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. All right, so there's 3 variances, side yard, rear yard, and reduced rear yard area. Any further questions for the applicant regarding this request for relief? Prepared to vote? All in favor of the application as provided? Right, your application's approved. Good luck with your project.
Thank you. Appreciate it as always.
Thank you very much. With that application, we have concluded today's committee, and we will now move to the reserve